All good game masters have to prep their games. I don't care who you are. I've never met a game master that runs decent sessions of any TTRPG that does not prep. Maybe a game master exists out there that can walk into a session without prepping anything and still be fantastic, but I've yet to meet them. They're one in a million. But wait, most of you are only thinking about one type of game preparation: active prep. Actually sitting down and writing things out, flipping through books, building maps, etc. However, many always forget passive prep. Passive prep is preparation you're doing when you're not strictly sitting down and writing things out. It is thinking about your campaign while you're jogging, or thinking about an NPC that your party will meet while taking the train. Passive prep involves all the little bits of world building you do as you daydream. For a majority of game masters, this is how you prep the most. But because the TTRPG community only really acknowledges active prep, passive prep is almost never talked about. I have a game master friend, let's call him Frank, who once told me that he never prepped for his campaigns. My mind was blown, so I asked him how he runs his games. Quickly, I got to understanding that Frank preps more for his games than anybody I know. He thinks about his world, story, NPCs, and players constantly. Frank knows his campaign like the back of his hand. I can ask him anything, and Frank has already given it some thought. It was all because he never wrote anything down that Frank thought he wasn't prepping at all. But all you new GMs out there have to recognize that this is still prep. There is a caveat here that Frank has a near photographic memory that allows him to do this. While you can use passive prep for an entire campaign, I would highly discourage it. For game masters that rely primarily on passive prep, they usually write down these 4 things before a session starts. At least 1 encounter for their players, at least 3 items to buy in a shop, at least 1 plot hook and a few sentences about a questline, and names for NPCs and places. These are the things that are really hard to make up on the spot, and while I am definitely an advocate for more active prep, I think this is the bare minimum you should do. Luckily, this prep, if you've gotten good at it, takes 15 to 30 minutes max for most sessions. I argue that for long-time game masters who wait until an hour before their session to prep are doing this. They've already been engaging in the passive planning they need over the course of the week that is likely built on some previous active prep. All they need to do before a session is that final bit of prep and then they're set. And because everyone procrastinates, they wait until the last moment. Well, so they think. They're not really counting all the other prep they're doing throughout the week that allows them to get this done. And because everyone loves to procrastinate, they get this final bit of active prep done at the last possible moment. I also want to make clear in this video that I think active prep is so important, because the more active prep you do, the better your games for any system will be. Once again, active prep is sitting down and writing out your plans. It's actually fleshing out multiple encounters, quest lines, NPCs, story locations, campaign events, and more. In those moments of active prep, good campaigns become great campaigns. This is because active prep has the obvious benefit of a written record that details your planning. You can't remember everything. Certain aspects of your campaign, like characters or location, can be a bit fuzzier on the details. It won't ruin your game if some details shift slightly from your original ideas, or if you don't remember something perfectly. Things like combat encounters, though, can go very wrong very quickly if the details are off. 2 bone claws, your party can handle. 3 bone claws, and that's a TPK. Because that's what can happen if a game master doesn't prep. You overlook something, make an encounter, a trap, or a situation too deadly in the moment and the party dies. We never want to TPK a group of players who did the best they possibly could in that situation. Active prep can lead to the fudging of more die rolls or the manipulation of hit points during a session. And really, those should be last resort type of actions. Because if your players find out that you're fudging die rolls, manipulating hit points all the time, they are going to be upset. And it might even destroy your campaign. Or, on the flip side, you can create sessions or entire campaigns that are just boring without prepping. The encounters are never challenging. Everything feels generic, because it usually is. It's your first impressions on a situation. your initial ideas are usually the worst. And as this boring, monotonous campaign drags on, players lose investment in that campaign, and slowly but surely, your campaign dies out anyway. That's why I say all game masters have to prep. You cannot tell a cohesive story or run a balanced game improving your way through an entire campaign. Nobody, not even professional dungeon masters, are that good at improv. If you challenged any professional DM to run 20 sessions improving literally everything on the spot, they wouldn't be able to do it. Games like Dungeons & Dragons require more time invested by the dungeon master to make the game run. That's what you sign up for when you run any TTRPG system. You're going to be putting in a bit more work out of game, but that work is worth it because it will make your campaigns better. However, if you want some tips on how to prep for your next D&D campaign, check out this video right here. And thank you for entering the dungeon.